What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake Fantasy Headliners. Welcome back to the Draft.com studios, where I'm joined by Mr. Kyle Richardson, and today we're talking about a product that you may not be familiar with. Maybe you like to DFS, but maybe you don't know how to DFS. We have the perfect alternative on Draft.com, and it's called Dream Team. We're going to explain it to you and kind of give you a few picks here for the week. Kyle, how we doing?
I'm doing well, and I love this part of draft. As everyone probably knows, we work a lot with draft. We do drafts all the time, but this one's nice because it takes basically all the easiness that the draft app allows, but you get to play a little bit of like actual DFS where you pick your lineups, but there's no salary with it, so you literally can pick anybody you want. So if you're over doing regular DFS on one of those other apps and you're like, man, I really want this lineup, but I can't fit all this salary into one team, you can do it here.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no salaries. The only thing you have to watch for is the teams in that slate. Obviously, The Monday night games aren't going to be available for the Sunday night slate, stuff like that. But otherwise, literally, like you said, you can pick any player on any team in any matchup and make a lineup. It's pretty simple. Similar scoring. It's half-point PPR. You're taking one quarterback, two running backs, and then a mixture of either two wide receivers or tight ends. Only two spots, but you can put a wide receiver or a tight end in there. And you go up against, and you'll enter a tournament with maybe 100 people in it. You can get into them for as low as $1. It's a lot of fun to make whatever lineup you possibly want. However, you still have to use some, I don't know if I want to call it skill because there's a lot of luck involved, but you don't want to just go pick all the number one guys at every position. There's going to be a lot of people out there that just go take the number ones everywhere at every position. But look at last week. Look at the Sammy Watkins. I'm sure he wasn't highly owned in any of these tournaments last week. Deshaun Jackson, maybe he wasn't either. Those are the type of names we're trying to find a little bit farther down the list. But me and Kyle have each put together a lineup, and I'm going to put them up here on the screen. But we're going to start with the quarterback position and a couple guys that we're going to be looking at here for maybe a few of these Dream Team lineups and try to win a little bit of extra money on the side. Everybody likes money on the side, Kyle.
Oh, yes.
Kyle likes money on the side?
Oh, love me some money on the side.
Where do you get your side money from, Kyle?
You know what? We just over here making it rain dollar bills, y'all.
Well, let's send out a couple Hella Fire lineups. I haven't said Hella Fire in a few weeks.
We have not.
So we're going to say Hella Fire right here. Kyle, let's start off with the quarterback position. Who you got at your quarterback position this week for your Dream Team?
Lamar Jackson at the quarterback position. Really like him this week. He was my quarterback 3 last week, and I got some sideways looks. Like, that's a little too high, and I even stepped that up this week. I went with quarterback 2. Love the matchup. Think it's an excellent matchup for him. The one thing I like about this matchup in this week is that last week, he really progressed as a thrower. You saw him become an actual quarterback, but I think this week is where you see his legs get back into it a little bit, and you see some of those yards on the ground, which helps to raise his potential ceiling. I think there's a big week incoming for him. And on the draft app, he's actually, even though he's my quarterback too, he's only projected as like the quarterback 7 or 8 in terms of points. So he might not be that widely owned either.
Yep, absolutely. I'm going to go with the name of Ben Roethlisberger. A lot of people want to hop off the bandwagon of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and deservedly so. Last week, they looked like hot garbage against the New England Patriots last week, but give a little bit of credit to the New England defense. And there may be a lot of people avoiding the Steelers. However, they're going up against the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks are very stingy run defense, but you can throw all over them. How do I know that? Andy Dalton threw for over 400 yards last week, and that's Andy Dalton and the Cincinnati Bengals with no A.J. Green. This is definitely a matchup where Ben Roethlisberger can go out there, score you some big points, and he may be a little bit lower owned because the people are turned off from his performance last week. So Ben Roethlisberger, who I have as my quarterback. What about the running back position, Kyle? Who's the first one you got for your running back 1?
So running back 1, I did take Alvin Kamara. Now, he is the projected leader in points. So with this team, definitely want to try and grab some guys that might be a little bit lower owned, that might be guys that, even though they're lower owned, have really high ceilings. But with Alvin Kamara, I'm going to take him because he's a safe play. I don't want to give away that safeness, because if he scores really well, then at least I'm keeping up with other teams there, because he's probably going to be one of the most, if not the most owned player. So I'll keep up with teams there. And then in my next running back spot, I'll take someone that I feel like it has a lot of upside, but again, I can tinker a little bit at that point. So I'm going to stay safe with Alvin Kamara as the highest projected player on the slate this week.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea if that's one position you want to do that. I got Derrick Henry as my number 1 running back. A lot of people saw a huge game from Derrick Henry last week, but they kind of forget that that also included a 75-yard touchdown reception, which just is not going to happen on a weekly basis. However, he goes up against the Indianapolis Colts this week, and last week we saw Austin Eckler all over the place against this Indianapolis Colts defense. I love the touches that he's going to get. He's going to get you close to 20 touches a week, a little bit more, involved in the passing game than we had planned here for Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry has the opportunity to go out here and be a solid, safer play to give me that safe floor here for week 2.
For my next running back, I'm going to take Leonard Fournette. Now, we know Nick Foles is going to be missing some time. Gardner Minshew is going to be out there. And even though he's looking hella fire walking off planes, if you've seen that picture of him, he looks like he's going to come out and throw for 900 yards this weekend, just based on that picture alone. But it's not going to happen. So even though it is a tough Houston Texans defense, they played well last week. The Saints did get to them a little bit more in the second half, and then they ended up breaking a little bit towards the end of the game there, and they ended up giving up the game-winning field goal to the Saints. But with all that being said, I definitely like Leonard Fournette to have a high volume week, and that's why I go with him here. High volume, more potential. He's going to be the focal point of the offense this week. Alvin Kamara had 13 catches, I believe, last week. So Leonard Fournette is going to be heavily used in the passing game as well.
Awesome. My second guy, I got Austin Eckler, and he's really screamed up the boards here. He had a huge week. Can we expect week 1 numbers every single week from him? No, we cannot. However, with possibly no Mike Williams, we know Hunter Henry is gone now. That really leaves Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler to really shoulder the load of the passing work on this team. Yes, you still have, other, Travis Benjamins and stuff there, but Austin Eckler's usage is going to be through the roof this week in a half-point PPR league, which this is. I think the upside of an Austin Eckler is going to be huge. He may not be quite as high as some of these other big-name guys. You're going to get a lot of people going after the Saquon Barkleys and the Zeke Elliott's and the Dalvin Cooks, and maybe people are going to sleep on Austin Eckler a little bit, trying to get those bigger names. I love the upside, and I'm going with Austin Eckler as my number 2 running back.
And all those points that you bring up there is exactly why I'm going with Keenan Allen as my wide receiver 1, because the targets are going to be there. The volume is going to be there. And I see this as a game where it's going to be very close the entire time. I don't think that the Chargers are going to go into Detroit and necessarily pull away from them. I think it could be a lot of back and forth, a lot of opportunities for Keenan Allen. So I'll take him as my wide receiver 1.
Yeah, absolutely. I have Brandon Cooks as my wide receiver 1 because a lot of people were very upset with Brandon Cooks and his performance last week. He wasn't really overly involved, didn't put up any big numbers, but here's the thing that I do know about Brandon Cooks, and you can pretty much relate it to life. There's 3 things in life. There's death, there's taxes, and there's Brandon Cooks scoring points against his former team, the New Orleans Saints. That's what's going to happen. He's going to be involved. He's done it when he was in New England. He's done it as a part of the Rams. He's going to be heavily involved in what could be a shootout between them and the Saints. I could see a lot of offense in this game, and Brandon Cooks may be one of those guys that turned a lot of people off after week 1, could come out, put up a huge game, and maybe very lowly owned.
Yep, no, excellent point there with Brandon Cooks. Now, my wide receiver 2 is someone that I've talked about quite a bit this week, especially on the live show. I talked about him a lot. It seemed like every time someone asked a question and Tyrell Williams' names popped up, I put him as my starter there. Really like this matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs, a Chiefs team that can give up the big plays at certain times. And honestly, the Raiders offense looked a lot better last week than what we had anticipated. Now, Josh Jacobs, I think, is going to take a little bit more of a focus this week. I think maybe the Broncos didn't focus on him nearly as much in Monday Night Football this last week, but he's going to be a little bit more of a focal point this week. People are going to be like, we're going to have to keep an eye on him. The Chiefs are going to try to button down on that run a little bit. There's going to be some big plays, and Tyrell Williams could end up being at the end of that.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I took a stab here with my wide receiver 2, and I went with one of the bigger names here. I went with Juju, and I'm doing it because I want to stack him with Big Ben. Now, like we mentioned with Big Ben, I mean, they looked absolutely horrible in week 1, and now they get that secondary that's very, very, very porous. Porous is going to be the word for the show, Kyle, at times last week. And if I can stack the Juju and Big Ben together, it gives me that opportunity for those big plays, those touchdown plays to kind of double up on the scoring point opportunities. Juju's probably going to be pretty highly owned, but kind of similar to what you said with Alvin Kamara. I kind of want one of those guys that I know is going to get the volume. Juju's going to be one of those guys. The Steelers are not the type of team that are going to sit back and just not try to fix this problem. As bad as they looked last week, I expect them to come out throwing the ball a lot here in week 2. Juju's actually going to be my wide receiver 2 on this team this week.
Love it.
All right, so that's kind of how you build a dream team. It's definitely a fun way to get involved in some DFS if you don't really understand all the ins and outs of some of those other apps. If you're a little bit confused by it and you really want to have that opportunity to win some weekly cash, this is how you do it. All you got to do, head over to draft.com, sign up for a new account if you don't already have one, and make a $10 deposit. Draft's going to go ahead and turn around and give you a free $3 entry. Just make sure you use the promo code HEADLINERS. Once you do that, you'll get that free $3 entry. You'll have $13 in your draft account to go out there and play around with. Build a couple dream teams here this week. You never know. You could be walking out with some cash in your pocket here at the end of the week. It's a lot of fun and really allows you to go out there and pick some of your favorite players. It doesn't have to be any specific player. You can go out there, heck, for $1. You can go make almost 13 lineups this week and just have some fun with it. You never know. Making some money on the side is definitely a fun thing. So we recommend you guys go check it out. We found it here this season and absolutely love it. Me and Kyle have dream teams all over the place. But we greatly appreciate the support. If you have any questions about it, make sure you hit us up down below in the comments section. Trying to help you guys win as much as we can this season. A lot of great information, especially here on the DFS side, which we don't touch very often. So go check it out. Let us know what you think. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you later.